Johnson, and this is Focus on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Bokonjre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Talk about home affairs, hey, in diaspora, current affairs, hey, reliable information, history, talking about culture, hey, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
Hello there in Focus of Liberia land. Today we're coming to you with a very informative program. We have with us on the show today the Liberian Diaspora Immigration Service representatives. They're going to explain to what they're all about and how they are helping the community. Okay, let me just introduce our guest, Ilimu Kajunju. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Very good. And also Siaka Kromau, who has been on the show before.
Yes, Jimmy.
Yes, and we noticed that there has been some progress. So we're excited to talk to you. How are things going?
Pretty good. Thanks for having us. We're glad to be here, Jimmy.
Okay, so first, I'd like to give you guys a chance to start off to tell us a little about who you are. Can you briefly introduce the Liberia Diaspora Immigration Service and explain its main mission?
Yes, thanks for the question, Jimmy. So the Liberian Diaspora Immigration Service is a task force that's working in collaboration with the Ministry of State for Presidential Affairs of the Republic of Liberia, with the primary goal to educate Liberians living in the diaspora and in Liberia on development and changes in U.S. immigration laws and policies. So this task force came together, spearheaded by Jackie McKay, who works out of the Ministry of Presidential Affairs. And we've come together, a group of about 5 people, including Ilimu, who's the attorney in the group. And the whole idea is to focus on assisting the government spearhead initiatives that will impact a larger audience of Liberians living in the diaspora as well as Liberia.
Okay, so thank you. So exactly, we understand what are the services you are rendering to Liberians in the diaspora, and are you also serving Liberians who are not in the U.S. Or have returned home?
So our work is more of an information push to the public. We want to make sure that folks are aware of what's happening, they understand what their rights are,
Mm-hmm.
And especially as it relates to people who don't have status, or folks who have uh, permanent residency, or folks who are naturalized citizens, right? Just a whole spectrum. Provide information through these changes that's happening in the U.S. so Liberians are abreast of what their rights are and what they need to do in order to put in place corrective and preventative actions. So more or less information that we're pushing out to the public and working in collaboration with the Ministry of State and Presidential Affairs. So our scope was really broad. We had like 4 phases that we wanted to do. The first phase that we're focusing on now is a webinar. So the goal is a week from today, we want to do a webinar that will be broadcast live. And so we're here today for marketing purposes to educate the public of what's to come in a week. But again, sole goal is push out information so people are aware and they know where they can reach out for assistance.
Okay, Siaka, from the last time we talked, it looks like somebody was listening because we talked about opening an office in the Embassy for Diaspora Affairs and all of that. And before we know it, there is an office for diaspora in the Ministry of State, right under the president. So it looked like they were hearing you. So how do these? Tell me how are you partnering, or are you partnering with this diaspora office at the Ministry of Presidential Affairs?
So let me just some quick history. So there is an intersection point of what we are doing with Ministry of State as well as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So when Ellen was in power, she established the Diaspora Affairs office at the embassy in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
Was underneath the umbrella of the Ministry of State. Now, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, usually when you talk about diaspora initiatives, is within their purview. So as you know, when I came on your show the last time, I had traveled to Liberia and really did an assessment of some of the things that was happening on the ground. And some of the things that were being proposed at that time is the diaspora is extremely important and relevant to the empowerment, the economic development of Liberia. And so had some conversations with various people. I even, had a talk with Minister Veslow. And so she's trying to do a lot of, stuff, initiatives as it relates to diaspora affairs in DC. So the conversion point that has to happen is the intersection is state, foreign affairs, and other government institutions need to partner together. So we are just a task force right now leading one of the initiatives. But the goal is, right, there's so many things that we can talk about as it relates to the diaspora, immigration, right? We could talk about healthcare. We could talk about technology. We could talk about construction. So there is an event that's happening in September where the president is coming.
Yeah.
So I think, that's all in line with the diaspora outreach, right? But I think what we want to be is very specific and tailored in what discussions that we're trying to have with the public to educate the public, right? Because it's always a win-win situation when you have the Liberian diaspora who has access to capital, access to resources, partnering with the folks in Liberia. So that's the kind of alliance and intersections that we have to see moving forward. But specifically for the purposes of this discussion, we're focusing right now on immigration.
Okay. So, Elimu, let me go to you. We've been hearing some recent changes in U.S. Immigration laws and policies. How does that relate, or what is important to Liberians in the diaspora to understand with these changes that have gone about?
Yeah, so just first of all, thanks for the opportunity to join your show. There are a few things that I think are important. One is actually U.S. law has not changed, even under the Trump administration. The emphasis of enforcement is what has dramatically changed. Um, so the, the current administration is uh, has been focused on making sure everyone who is in the U.S. Is here illegally, has been following the laws, and everyone who is here in the best interest of the United States. So it views, for example, if you're a permanent resident and you've committed one or two crimes, that you may not be in the best interest of the United States. So it may pursue to try to have you leave the country,
Oh wow.
even even though you under almost any other administration, um, you know, the fact that you have one or two items um, in your criminal record is not really a reason why you would ever get deported. But under this new administration, it's looking very broadly as to the definition of who is here in the best interest of the United States.
Wow. And you say they can even go after permanent residents. What about the U.S. temporary, those Liberians are under TPS, temporary protected status?
Yeah.
Because we're hearing that there are several Liberians right now in deportation mode.
Yes. Well, so let me even give you a little detail. The only the only individuals in the U.S. whose status cannot be revoked is a person who is born here in the U.S. If you are a naturalized citizen like myself, and many others, um, there are still avenues for you to be deported. As to your question specifically on TPS, so TPS is actually, in the view of the government, is not actually a status. It's a holding. It's a.
Yeah.
It's a. Uh, it's it, it is a. Um, it's not a status, but it's a situation where the government says that due to circumstances outside your control, we're going to let you stay here for a certain period of time until things get better. But um, so for many of those, the government is reevaluating, um, those statuses, reevaluating the states of those countries. So if you're from a country that maybe was not very well organized, like our own, and you know, th- but now you are more organized. The federal government can decide, whether it's TPS or DED, any of those sort of temporary statuses, they can choose to end them.
Yeah. So, do you have knowledge of the amount of Liberians right now going through deportation process? Do we have many, or are you trying to help them?
Yeah. So there aren't official public records on that. I have been looking for data actually for all of Africa, if there's some public data on how many are subject to deportation. There's nothing readily available, but anecdotally, you know, I know several individuals personally who have left, who are subject to deportation. I know several who have gotten communications that because of X, Y, and Z, that their status is being reevaluated. So it is, um, the U.S. enforcement arm has grown exponentially. in terms of individuals who are charged with determining whether um, um, non-U.S. citizens are whether they're deportable. So that's really like the check: is someone deportable versus whether you have a right to stay. If you're deportable, you may be at risk.
Hmm. Wow, we've been hearing these changes in policies, and where we hear that they even examining this birthright law, where once you're born in the U.S., you're entitled to citizenship. Um, do you know how all these sort of things have impacted the Liberian community since that announcement was made?
Yes. Well, so I mean, I think everyone is paying very close attention to how the courts eventually it will be the U.S. Supreme Court decides um, whether someone who is born in the U.S. can in some way not be a U.S. citizen. Um, there is it could have impact depending on if a decision is made that it can be backwards applied. What I mean by that is, so let's say if you're here as a U.S., you're a Liberian, born here, U.S. citizen, but maybe your parents did not have appropriate papers when they came to the U.S. Um,
Mm,
so those are the ones that are being targeted. Those are the ones the U.S. government, the current administration, believes should not be eligible for U.S. citizenship. Um, if 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 their your parents were either here legally or were here temporarily, like maybe here on a visitor's visa, and then you were born.
mm,
So, um, you know, we're still waiting to see the impact. One, what the decision will be, and if it will be sort of backwards compatible. But if either way, I think it will have an impact. If it's decided that that individuals who didn't have sort of permanent residency or citizenships in the U.S. If they had children here, if those children cannot be U.S. citizens, it it's a significant concern.
okay. Wow. Let me go back to you, Siaka. Um, what is the LDIS doing to educate Liberians in the diaspora about these immigration changes? Do you have a community outreach program going on?
Yeah, so we're building the awareness. We are working in collaboration with other Liberian organizations, community organizations in the U.S. And just by being on your show, Jimmy, you have always been an advocate for great causes.
Mhm.
So the fact that we're able to reach folks who are in Liberia, is just all part of what the strategy is, right? Because we know there's certain people who have also left the states and they're in Liberia, and there's some concerns of how do they come back with the different immigration changes. Enforcement that's happening, as Elimo said. So, for example, right, we one of the things that we wanted to stress is Liberians who are U.S. citizens, naturalized U.S. citizens, like Elimo, myself, and likely you, Jimmy. Make sure when you're traveling to the country with your U.S. passport, go and get a visa from the embassy, right? So when you are exiting, there's no problem. You're returning, there's no problem, right? Because there's some ambiguity some on the dual citizenship laws, right? So some people will have the ECOWAS passport, and it's like, you're not going to Liberia. I'm gonna just use my ECOWAS passport as it.
Mhm.
If I was France, a French citizen or German citizen, I had dual citizenship or a Canadian, right? use one passport to go in, so you bypass obtaining a visa, and then when you're returning, you just use the other passport, right? So as a best practice, and I will refer immigration matters to Ilimo. He's their attorney. But one of our best practice information and awareness that we're sending out is please make sure if you are U.S. citizens, you're getting a visa from the Liberian embassy when you're traveling to Liberia. And when you're coming back, you have entry point with the same U.S. passport, right?
Mm.
So just to not put you in any sort of a bind, right? But so those are the awareness that we're working on, right? So we're starting small, and then we're ramping up by even being on your shore, right? So the goal is let's keep the education that's happening with the diaspora and with the people in Liberia, right? Because it leads to bigger initiatives like we talked about before, right? So, for example, the president's coming and he's going to talk about, the state of affairs in the country and how the diaspora can help. Other conversations is why can't we have like a summit every 3 months, right? That's a year, right? What we're talking not only about immigration, but we're talking about infrastructure. We're talking about healthcare, right? We're talking about technology, engineering, and bringing those stakeholders to the table to see how we can partner with folks on the ground in order to create jobs and opportunities for the people in Liberia. But this initiative is specifically an awareness campaign. We're ramping up. A week from today, we will have a webinar on the 16th on Saturday by Zoom, where we have an information package that we'll go through that is more specific to educating the folks about what we're doing.
Okay, Alimo, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I do. So, as Siaka says, so we are focused on education, and I think education here is the key. And really, in addition to education, really, the education is supposed to be the interlude to action. We need our people to act.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, frankly, the only individuals who personally may not need to act is if you were born in the U.S. If you have a status other than born in the U.S., I think there's an opportunity to act either for yourself or for your family, because the government has been very clear on the types of things it's going after, the types of people it's going after. So even if you're not impacted today, it might just be that they haven't gotten to you, right? They don't have 1 million people working in USCIS. If they did, they probably would have gotten to you, right? So we want people to take decisive action to protect themselves and their family, and we've also provided resources. We will provide resources into how to start getting that help.
Wow, you said decisive action. What sort of actions are you talking about?
So I'll give you an example, right? So simple example: you're here, you're a permanent resident. You're eligible to be a citizen, and you intend to stay here for indefinitely. Why aren't you getting citizenship? You need to, because you need that additional layer of protection. So we want to encourage people, if you're a permanent resident, you're eligible for citizenship, go ahead and get it. If you are on TPS or another temporary status, and you are eligible through family, through work, or other ways for a more permanent status, immediately begin to pursue those other options. So those are just two examples. If I'll give a third one, if you whatever your status is, so like let's say you're you're a student and your status is going to come up soon. Don't wait till if you're undergraduate student,
Right.
don't wait until your senior year to line up what you're going to do next, because the processes are very slow. They're intentionally slow to make you have to leave. So in your junior year, you should be, if you're going to go do your master's, you should be setting that up, right? Because all the processes to stay have been slowed. All the processes to get you to leave have been expedited. So, so you need to be proactive, right? So those are just examples of some of the things we want people to consider.
So will LDIS, are there plans to expand service to include legal representation and job placement, maybe, or integration in
Yeah,
support?
no. So yeah, that's a fantastic question. I mean, the short answer is that for now, in the current sort of phase that we're in, we're providing links to resources for organizations that provide free or low cost immigration services. We're also working with a few immigration lawyers who are kind of lowering their rates to Liberian citizens to provide those services.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, Siaka, let me ask you a futuristic question.
Yes, sir.
How do you see the role of the Liberian diaspora evolving in the next 5 to 10 years, since you've finally taken on this thing?
So I think it's a combination of things, right? But specifically, let me say that our initiative is also part of President Boyka arrest agenda, right?
Very good.
That's coming from the state with Minister Grace B, and in partnership too with Foreign Affairs, right? Sarah Beslow, and others, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think we are looking strategically, right? Because we do see that the Trump administration even invited President Boyka to the White House, and had a conversation about partnerships, right? So there are avenues where we could, exploit, that relationship, right? So again, I think what we have to do is really put in plans, right? Be strategic and say, okay, in 5 years, this is where the diaspora community needs to be, right? And there's folks in both of those ministries that are doing great things, right? I know there's a program now that people during the holidays are able to go to Liberia to meet with the president, folks that come from the diaspora. So folks on the ground are doing great things. I think what we have to do is be specific and tailored these initiatives, right? So an example again would be let's just use JFK. I think I talked about JFK the last time I was on your show. What are some of the requirements that JFK has in the healthcare sector, right? I think I spoke to Minister Porto when I was in Liberia, and as well as the education minister when she came to the States. They're doing great things. But there are pain points at JFK, right? There's not automation. Maybe there's not dialysis machines. Maybe there are not beds. There could be a host of things. Have a summit where you're bringing the healthcare people in the United States, in the diaspora, North America, Canada, Mexico, and say, okay, look, JFK needs X, Y, and Z, right? And I know there are Liberians, even in the state that I live in, North Carolina, that work at Duke, who are driving some of these initiatives, right, to send stuff. But you have a summit, you say, okay, what do you need? You need beds, you need ambulances, you need tech, you need dialysis, you need cancer treatment. I'm sure we have that surplus in the States in some hospital, in some facility, in some warehouse, right? How now can we transfer that equipment and that technology to the country? Then you have to figure out now from usability or tracking, right? Do we have the systems in place, right, that are going to make sure that they're tracking all this infrastructure that's tracking the money that's coming in, right?
Right.
So we can go and audit and examine and say, yeah, we send 100 beds to JFK. We automated the whole medical system, right? The invoicing, LRA is getting its money. So all these things can be done. But I think it's right, small wins, right? You have to focus on small wins. The immigration test that we're doing now is a small win. After we deliver, then we'll see what's being asked us to do, right? But I think on a strategic level, that's the big picture. I would say 5 years from now, right? How do we get there? I think it's still work in progress.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, we know that Liberia is needy, and I was talking to one other guy or listening to him. He said that there's a lot available if we know how to go about it to get assistance to like the schools and the hospitals. So, but we don't know how to go about it. He's very successful. I think you guys know he's in Canada. Lipo. He's in Canada, and he has been very successful in building libraries. And what are you? Is your organization looking to see how they can, help institutions, schools, all that in Liberia through their connections here in the U.S.?
So the government does have an official diaspora affairs office.
Yes.
I think they have to be the drivers of that, right? And then they can reach out to like-minded Liberians, right? So for now we're a task force of 5, but
Okay.
it's been driven through the diaspora affairs office, through the Ministry of State, right? But I think, most of these initiatives that you mentioned are private sector initiatives, right? Folks are building this and that, libraries, clinics, but there's a lot of splinter groups, right? And it's fine to have those splinter groups from my perspective. I'm just saying the bigger picture, right? Think APAC, for example, right? How APAC operates, right? The focus is on Israel, right? They gather funds, right? They lobby and they target, right? My thing here is in all these processes, you have to really plan properly and build it because, as we all know, corruption is a huge cancer in any society. It's very, very prevalent in Liberia, right? So, how do you integrate all of those, right, to make sure that whatever you're targeting, tailoring, you have the built-in controls, and then you can go back and audit and then see the results, right? So if you're asking for funds from the U.S. or equipment, right, you can show those stakeholders that the utility of that is actually coming to fruition. But I think specifically to answer your question, we are many professional people, Liberian Americans in the States, but we are on standby, on demand. I think the initiative itself must be driven from within the government and then utilizing folks in the diaspora.
Okay. So this question for both of you, Elimu, are you guys looking for people to join you to help beef up the organization? Is that what are you still recruiting?
Well, that's more of a question for Jackie McKay, who's our leader. But right now we are focused on executing this education empowerment sort of move that the initial webinar that we're going to be presenting next week. But I can see that as we grow and we have some successes, that this organization we'll definitely grow with it, and we'll need more hands, right? Because we, you know, all of us other than Jackie have other full-time jobs, right? So our ability to scale is limited unless we grow.
Wonderful. Okay, I think we touched most of our stuff. Would you like to leave it? You guys would like to say anything to our audience so they attend the webinar next week?
Yeah, so Jimmy, I think you have the flyer. We just need to make sure that we can.
Yeah, let me see if I can put up that flyer. Hold on.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Be talking while I get it.
Yeah, and for all the people that's in Liberia, please, keep pushing the government to develop strong partnerships with the diaspora. And the diaspora can be the North American diaspora, the South American diaspora, it can be Australia, Europe, right? Asia, right? All, anywhere Liberians reside in the seven, continents, right? It could be other countries, right? In Liberia, Kenya, Ghana, South Africa, right?
Yeah.
What we need to be focusing on now is pushing the government, because folks in the diaspora has a couple of things. They have very great education. They have access to capital, right? They have the ability to partner with stakeholders. And, the whole process is we need that partnership. We need folks. Ghana is way ahead of us as it relates to diaspora affairs. The Kenya, Ethiopia, all those countries, South Africa, I mean, they focus on, strengthening the diaspora, right? So we just need to be in line. We're working with the different government institutions at state and foreign affairs, health, LRA, and see how we can just help to increase revenue, because all these young people, when you go to Liberia, you know how it is. You find so many young people jobless, no opportunities, right? So how can we create those opportunities working hand in glove?
Right. Exactly. Thank you. You would like to add anything to that?
No, just I would just say, we encourage everyone to join our webinar next week, and keep yourself informed with information from reliable sources. That's I would say that's something we encourage everyone to do.
All right. So we're gonna wrap it up here. Next week, as you saw what the banner said, next week Friday is the day?
Saturday. Yes.
Next week, Saturday, ladies and gentlemen, they will have this webinar. A lot of Liberians kind of concerned. These guys have the information. They can provide you with clarity, so you know what to do. As you listen to what they said, don't wait till the last minute before you address these issues. Start addressing them now. Right now, as they pointed out, there is a bunch of new enforcement. They're spending a lot of enforcement, and the processes have slowed down. So it's likely the enforcement is going to get to you. Do not wait. These guys are here to help. They're working in conjunction with the Ministry of Presidential Affairs, and they are here to provide the backup, and even some technical expertise should you need it. As Iluma is the lawyer there, and Siaka is the I guess the spokesman for for the group. So they're ready to make a difference. Any last words, guys, before we close up?
Jimmy, we just want to thank you for having us. Ilimo, thanks for making the time. This has been great. You know, we have our team of three dynamic women, including Jackie, that's on board. And so we just look forward to working with everyone to help and build awareness.
You said Jackie? Jackie who?
Jackie McKay, she's our
Okay.
our lead.
All right. Well, thank you guys for coming
Thank you
on.
again.
All right.
Yes,
Thank
thanks
you.
for the information.
All right. Be
And-
blessed.
Okay. God bless.
We are